I requested emails from the Georgetown County Sheriff's Office through the Freedom of Information Act. I went through each document to see how this case has advanced and if there was answers to many public comments. One of those reoccurring comments, did the Sheriff's Office know of Perry's volunteer work prior to this investigation? Sheriff Carter Weaver made clear in the press conference last month and in writing that he had not known of Perry's volunteer work at the church. According to an email, Perry reaches out to a sergeant saying, quote, "The church yesterday registered the red Dodge Dakota to them, so it's no longer a vehicle that I have." He goes on to say, "Have a good day and an even better holiday season." I reached out to the sheriff's office on the timeline of this email, and I'm still waiting for a response. Another popular question, what role did Perry's financial advisor play? Well, it's referenced that the sheriff's office did interview his financial advisor. They say he, quote, advised that he served only as Perry's financial advisor and attended the church. They go on to say, current statements indicate rumors of Perry's involvement with the new building are unfounded and are corroborated by donation lists acquired during Sunday's search warrant. They say, we were advised Perry has a sum of money from his prior work and 401k, but is not in the realm to facilitate large levels of investment. One thing that jumped out, in 2022, the sheriff's office was tasked with doing a threat and vulnerability assessment on the church's security. This was for a nonprofit security grant program from SLED. The office determined after reviewing paperwork and a walkthrough, they believed they were doing a, quote, great job and did not see any need to change what has been done.
She bought the bottle of beer, definitely, at 12:15.
Yeah, it was 12:15, exact. If I'm not mistaken, it was.
Now you see something? Now you see now. You done fucked up, you know that, don't you?
All right, welcome in, listening to God. This is breaking news out of Pawleys Island, South Carolina, out of that case. We just heard the report, and tonight I want everybody to pay very close attention to what's being uncovered here, okay? Because from the beginning of the Pawleys Island situation, one of the biggest questions people in Georgetown County have been asking is very simple. Who knew what when? And when did and who knew what and when did they know it? Here's what we already know. We already know that Warren Perry, a convicted sex offender, we already know he was a convicted sex offender. We already know he was working at the church and the school where the children were. We know the situation eventually resulted in, arrests and lawsuits. But now the story seems to be moving into another phase because Live 5 News has obtained records through the Freedom of Information Act. And according to what you just heard, those records raise questions about what information may have been available to Georgetown County Sheriff's Office before this scandal exploded publicly. And I want to be extremely careful with my words tonight because I'm not saying that Sheriff Carter Weaver committed a crime. I'm not saying that the sheriff's office intentionally allowed children to be placed in danger. And I'm not going to take an email, okay? The email that was referenced in said FOIA request or a news report and make something that it doesn't say. Okay. But I am going to question if there were communications involving the sheriff's office and this organization. And what exactly did those communications say? Who received them? When were they received? What information did the sheriff's office have concerning Warren Perry? And when did they have it? And there's another piece that deserves some very intense scrutiny. If the sheriff office participated in some kind of nonprofit grant review, safety initiative or assessment, whatever it was, involving this particular organization that we're talking about, then we need to understand exactly what was that process, what that process was. Because if there was some nonprofit grant, there was some money involved, there was some money changed hands, there was, excuse me, let me make this a little more clear. There was some taxpayer money involved in this walkthrough. What did the questions, here's the questions that you need to answer from the sheriff department, right? All right. And get your local journalists to tune in right now. What did they examine? What were they responsible for examining? Here's the big one. Were background checks involved? Here's another one. Was Warren Perry's presence known? Now, before you answer that one, I want to play this video again before I move on any farther, just to catch anybody up that's just kind of tuning in, trying to figure out, well, who knew what about whatever. I'm making reference to a news report that was put out by Live 5 News. And here we go.
I requested emails from the Georgetown County Sheriff's Office through the Freedom of Information Act. I went through each document to see how this case has advanced and if there was answers to many public comments. One of those reoccurring comments, did the sheriff's office know of Perry's volunteer work prior to this investigation? Sheriff Carter Weaver made clear in the press conference last month and in writing that he had not known of Perry's volunteer work at the church. According to an email, Perry reaches out to a sergeant saying, quote, "The church yesterday registered the red Dodge Dakota to them, so it's no longer a vehicle that I have." He goes on to say, "Have a good day and an even better holiday season." I reached out to the sheriff's office on the timeline of this email, and I'm still waiting for a response. Another popular...
All right, that's one point right there. Wow. I think this thing needs to be investigated by higher organizations. Don't know if Cash Patel is the guy for it, but you know. And if and the end part of that thing that is that if the organization receives some indication that everything was satisfactory, what did that approval mean? those aren't accusations. Now let's keep that keep that in your purview. Those are questions, bro. Questions of accountability is what they are, because when we're talking about children, the standards just simply cannot be, well, nobody meant for anything bad to happen. We need to know where the safeguards were. We actually need to know whether those safeguards failed. And if they failed, we need to know where they failed and who knew about it. So tonight, what we're going to do is just simply follow the documents. We're going to separate what we know from what we suspect. I think that's a smart thing to do. Trying to be smart about this thing. But I'm definitely going to ask the questions that the people of Georgetown County deserve answers to. Who knew what? And who knew? And when did they know it? And what did they do about it when they knew it? Because we know what Sheriff Carter Weaver did. Sheriff Carter Weaver had more press conferences than I've ever seen at any time during his administration. Maybe not. I think the Drexel information. He likes the camera. And I get it. One of my what's the opposite of a critique? One of my compliments of Sheriff Carter Weaver is that he understands media, the power of media. He understands the power of the press. And he's used it to his advantage. Now, in this case, we'll see whether or not, you know what I mean, he overplayed his hand, because that young reporter, she is we'll see what the documents say, what they lead to. But to the people of Pawleys Island, yeah, you guys deserve answers. And there's an election coming up, and I think Carter Weaver is on the ballot. So this is something to consider. Okay. Again, I'm going to
get ready, Andrews. The Andrews Heritage Festival is.
I'm sorry. I apologize. It dropped a little bit too early. I've been out of the studio, man. I've been trying to survive. That's all. That's all. But it's official. Y'all know homecoming has already been set. And let's
get ready, Andrews. The Andrews Heritage Festival is coming October 31st. A day filled with community, culture, and celebration is on the way. Big energy, great people, and unforgettable moments. Save the date now and get ready.